Hello, and welcome to the Evolution Sports Podcast. Each week, we're going to highlight a different aspect of how sports and technology are evolving, and ultimately how it impacts you, the sports fan. I'll be your host, Andrew Ferraro, here with my co-host, Dave Sanders. To give you an idea, this is not really Volume 1. This is just an introductory pod. I just want to give you a little background on us, who we are, what we do, and kind of what you can expect from the pod. Pod's only going to run about 15-20 minutes. A couple episodes might run a little closer to 30. We really want to keep it smaller chunks, allow you to be able to digest it, consume it on your way to work, on your way back from work. I didn't want to try to burden you up with 2-3 hours a week worth of content. Goals drop it each Monday. Dave's going to get here in a little bit more of our social media, what you can kind of expect from there. It's going to be more than just, hey, download here. But I'm going to kick it to Dave right now, let him introduce himself, and that way you guys know a little bit more about him. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey guys, I'm Dave. I have a marketing background with experience in healthcare, data storage, and fantasy sports. I'm really excited to get this podcast started. As Andrew mentioned, we're going to be releasing podcasts weekly, covering a variety of topics, but mostly we're going to be talking about how technology has impacted the evolution of how we consume sports. From my perspective, given that I have a marketing background, this really has piqued my interest, and not only from an advertising perspective, but also in these new forms of media, how they're being adopted and utilized very often. So Andrew, why don't you tell everybody a bit about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Dave. As you know, my name's Andrew Ferraro. You can find me on Twitter at DrewFerraro88. Feel free to hit me up there at any point. I got a finance background, so numbers, data, analytics is pretty big to me. So naturally, with the Moneyball era, and now we're into sabermetrics and advanced statistics, it's really piqued my interest. There's a lot of content to consume. But when Dave approached me with this podcast, it really piqued my interest just based on, a lot has changed. Being a former athlete myself, just from where the game is now versus when I played and things like that. With the advancement in data, it's been really great. So I think you guys are really going to like this. I'm going to kick it back to Dave here just so he can kind of cover our Twitter handle and our Facebook page to give you guys an idea of what you can expect there. Go ahead, Dave.
Thanks. So you can find us on Twitter at Evo Sports Pod or on Facebook at Evolution Sports Podcast. These feeds are intended not only to have the podcast, but really to curate news stories and other relevant topics to what we're talking about. So they'll provide some additional information for you. Plus, we also want to hear from you on there. So give us some feedback, and then also feel free to suggest some other topics that you want to hear. And I'll give it back to Drew to rapp things up.
Thanks, Dave. Like I said, we really do appreciate you guys listening to the Evo Sports Podcast intro pod here. As Dave was saying, you can find us on Twitter at Evo Sports Pod and on Facebook at our Evolution Sports Podcast Facebook page. Please do subscribe, rate us, like us, tell us what you do like, don't like. We're going to be pretty active, especially on Twitter, so feel free to leave us some feedbacks, comments, questions, whatever you guys want to talk about. We definitely want to make this as engaging as possible with you guys so we can talk about the topics you guys find interesting. But we do really appreciate you listening, and we look forward to being able to catch up with you guys on the next podcast, which will be Volume 1. And that's going to be about the impact of the second screen experience. So we look forward to seeing you guys on that, and we'll catch you on the flip side.